Final hour overdrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. FanDuel is going to be rocking here as we get closer to the Stanley Cup playoffs, the NBA playoffs. We had the play-in games last night, Golden State and Orlando winning. It's a great time of year just to be tracking the stats, tracking the odds. You know, there's going to be a favorite in pretty much every series, but this is something we can try to determine, and maybe we'll get into it with Dregs, like which series that we know of in the Stanley Cup playoffs so far would be the most difficult to predict. Which one, when you look at it and say, I don't know, man, that's a coin flip series.
Dallas, Colorado,
I think that or the Florida one.
Yeah, I think it's the Florida-Tampa one. I like Dallas over Colorado. I think it'll be a great series. I wouldn't be shocked if it went either way. I'm picking Dallas. Florida-Tampa, I don't know, man. I think that is going to be a war. And it got chippy last night towards the end of the game. And, those two teams, you can't beat that. And if you're Bettman and company, this is what you are absolutely begging for, is this series to go down, right? Florida and Tampa. And if you're the rest of the East, you're ecstatic because one of them's got to go home. And for the last 5 years, the state of Florida has been represented in the Stanley Cup final, and they're going to lose a ticket in about 10 days. So, yeah, if you're the Leafs, if you're Carolina, if you're Washington, if you're whoever, Ottawa, you're like, great, step aside, move out of the way, please.
That is the thing. There's that lull in the second round where you're like, where's my Colorado Avalanche or Dallas Stars? It's it does create a first-round buzz but I was even talking to my dad about it a couple days ago, and it's just go back to the 1-8, man, and just try it.
Not going to happen.
I know.
Bettman will not do it. So yeah, this is what we got, but it's going to be a good run. But we got to get through tonight and tomorrow first, and the next two nights is going to be crazy to watch because if the Habs screw this up, they haven't had a chance to clinch. They have lost now 3 in a row. They lost to Ottawa, lost to Toronto, and lost in overtime or in a shootout to Chicago. Right. If they lose tonight in regulation, the panic watching tomorrow night of Columbus Islanders is going to be just an excruciating experience if you're a Montreal Canadiens fan.
Yeah. Is it in Columbus or on the island?
It's in Columbus.
I have to check.
It's in Columbus.
Oh, they will. The Islanders, they're see you later.
Yeah. They've
Congrats
had enough.
To Matt Martin if he retires, by the way.
Yes. Shout out to Matt Martin. But you're right. And you know what? Patrick Waugh, he's going to be sitting there thinking, I can jam up the Montreal Canadiens. Do I want to do that? Do I want to jam up the Montreal Canadiens? Because tonight is the offer sheet battle, right? Bergevin should be there in a top hat and a mustache just watching with the Aho, Kotkaniemi. Remember the back and forth?
That Kotkaniemi offer sheet, I'm sorry, retrospectively looking back at
horrendous.
That. What? Oh,
so stupid. You knew it at the time. It was spiteful and it was stupid. But that's if you're Carolina, not that the players care, but you're like, man, you can really jam up Montreal tonight. If Carolina scores first and quickly, you will hear a pin drop at the Bell Center tonight.
Wow, there's you want to talk about an underpants cam? You're gonna have to show the chart, right?
Yeah. Big time. Big time.
Bottom right. They score early. Right. It's straight down to bottom right, and that's a problem.
Yeah, it is. All right, so Dregs will join us here in just a moment. We'll revisit our chat with Gary Roberts later in the hour. We've got our RBC picks as well. We've got to hammer these out, and I think we'll do this after Dregs. We'll get him on the line here. But we do have to figure out who's going to have first pick. You jumped on Rory last week somewhat unfairly.
I gave you Scotty Scheffler as a gift, saying you have the first pick. Go ahead, take Scotty.
No, that's not.
Dude,
that's
you
not
would
how
not
it
have
actually
taken
happened.
Rory.
I would have taken
Can you
Rory.
chime in here, Doogie? Because this guy's bold-faced lying.
He's on the phone with Dregs, but I was all over McElroy. I had picked McElroy all week. But to make you shut up, I said, go ahead. You take McElroy. I'll accept Scheffler.
Dude, do you know that you FaceTimed me after he puked at the U.S. Open? You said he'll never win an event again.
Well, I did not say he will never win an event
You did.
again.
You said it's over for him. He'll never compete again. That
I thought he was in
soul.
big trouble to never win a major again. I can't lie about that, man. I thought that meltdown at Pinehurst was going to set him into spiral him out of control. And it turns out he won a major two times. Like, he just had to go through one more at the Open Championship, and then all of a sudden he picks up the next one at the Masters. But the reason I'm saying that is because Scheffler is the defending champ. So I have to believe whoever has the first pick is likely going to take him. But we'll get to that in about 15 minutes. We have Dregs? Yeah, here's our TSN Hockey Insider, Darren Dreger. What's happening, Dregs?
You know, it's like calm before the storm. I know the regular season isn't over yet, but it kind of feels like that, right? Like we're all into the busy season. We've got another Leaf game tomorrow night. There's talk of a playoff preview show. So I'm trying to jam as much stuff into today and tonight as I possibly can. So I've got the smoker going. I've got the barbecue going. I've got the oven going. It's going to be a feast before the playoff fever takes hold.
Yes.
Well, we got to get through it, though. We were talking about the Montreal Canadiens, having an opportunity to make the playoffs if they win, tonight's game. How tense do you think things are there, Dregs?
Well, yeah, I mean, tense, obviously, given what they're facing. They need 1 point to lock their spot and not have to worry about what Columbus is going to do tomorrow against the New York Islanders. So in that sense, for sure, they're feeling it. There's no doubt about that. And I wonder about you guys who could speak to this more than I can. Like, who's feeling it? The fan base definitely is feeling it. But, are the players actually feeling that level of intensity? They've been dialed in for a good stretch here. Likewise, for Marty St. Louis and the coaching staff, and it's out of management's hands. There's nothing else that Kent Hughes and management can do going into this one tonight. So you hope that, they've got the highest level of intensity, a playoff mentality. But I heard you guys talk with Ray about this and maybe earlier in the segment on OverDrive about what the Hurricanes might bring or not bring. And I guess I appreciate what you're saying in terms of, all right, well, nobody wants to get hurt. You just want to, have a day or two, get set, let's go to the playoffs if you're the Carolina Hurricanes. But is that the way Brendan Moore is wired? Like, I mean, doesn't there have to be a playoff mentality about every game that you play? And the only way you can manipulate the mentality is by sitting guys and giving those guys load management rest going into the playoffs. So, the Hurricanes lineup I think that Montreal is going to face is going to be one that wants to win.
Well, yeah, we'll see, man. I made that statement. I mean, you're not playing for anything. Like, I get what Rod's saying, but if you're Brendan Moore, like, do you really want your guys blocking shots tonight? I wouldn't. I don't care how intense.
His son's making his debut. You think Skylar Brendan Moore doesn't want to play his nuts off?
Sure, go ahead. But how does Rod handle that? You can play him 30 minutes because he's his kid? I mean, it's dicey. Like, the Habs are literally playing for something. Carolina is not. I mean, there's no dancing around it. Like, yes, it's a professional game. I'm not predicting that the Habs are a lock to win because of that mentality.
Right.
But, it's like Vegas last night. You think Vegas cared that they ended up losing the game? They didn't care.
Yeah.
Get me out of here. Like, we're here to play and we're professional and whatever. But it's just it's like what you were saying off the top, Dregs, this weird kind of like gray area where a lot of teams are like, get me to the playoffs, or other teams are like, get me to Vegas or Europe or whatever. And there's two teams, Columbus and Montreal, are like, we got to play, man. Don't forget about us. We got to get to the finish line here.
Agreed. And, I mean, the Columbus story would be tremendous, right? Like, turn obviously a nightmare into something that nobody could have predicted that, they'd be in this position, let alone lock down a playoff spot. So who would be surprised if that's the way it tumbles in favor of the Columbus Blue Jackets? But even from a Montreal perspective, fellas, I mean, it's theirs to lose. That's abundantly obvious. I thought, and you guys correct me again here, I thought Montreal would be a team that would nibble at a playoff spot. By nibbling, I mean, they'd be in it until there's like 10 games left in the regular season, and then all of a sudden they're not in it because they're just not deep enough. They just don't have enough experience with their younger core and whatnot. So the fact that they're here, and I'm sure that Marty St. Louis coaching staff and management and the players have looked at the number of points that they've squandered, where they've missed opportunities in the first half, second half, and all of that. I still think that, the benefits that the Montreal Canadiens are gaining from this experience, it's going to bode well, because I know what management is planning for the off season, and that's to recognize where they're at. They're not going to expedite the process, but they look around the Eastern Conference. They see what Toronto has. They see what Ottawa's built. They look around other teams. They look over in the West, and they see these teams that are legit NHL or Stanley Cup contending teams. And Montreal's like, okay, we're not there. But maybe if we add a big piece, maybe if we add a top six piece in this offseason or two, then we can get there quicker than we thought. And I think that's what's built off the season that the Canadiens have had to this point.
Dregs, we were talking about the East and just not qualifying for the playoffs this year. It's exciting for the teams that are going into the playoffs, and you don't need to name names, but would you suggest there's some teams in the East where people are not going to be wanting to look at their phones in the next 4 or 5 days? Or answer it?
There's probably a few teams for sure. I mean, the easiest prediction to make is that there's going to be change with the New York Rangers, but, that's a tap-in putt, but we don't know to what level that is going to get to, how deep that knife cuts. Peter Laviolette, all right, you've got a decorated, experienced head coach. All right, is he the problem? I'm not convinced of that. Do I expect that there'll be a change? Sure, I do. But that Dolan family and the ownership of the New York Rangers, man, they're in it to win it every single year. So if you're not looking at your front office, or if you are and you believe that your front office is going to find a way to enact change, all right, well, now you're looking at a roster again. You're looking at a roster that couldn't put it together regardless of coaching. So automatically I'm drawn to the New York Rangers. Beyond that, I mean, Buffalo is always in our crosshairs because, they played hard for the first 10 minutes, 15 maybe, and then things kind of went off the rails for the Sabres last night yet again. There's lots of teams in the East that we can look at, and there are players, I'm sure, that are looking at what change might look like, and maybe those players are looking at, geez, I hope it's me. But I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. I can look at both conferences and come up with 2 or 3 teams that there's going to be something going on.
Well, I guess the owner of the Bruins sent out some letter to the fans about the struggles of the season, and now I've noticed Sabre fans are quote tweeting that, saying, "Where's Pagula's message? Why doesn't he ever send anything out?" So it's just like the miserable fan bases of the East in particular. There's certainly ones out West. I mean, and out West, I look at Vancouver, Dregs, and I'm curious, like, what could happen there? This Brock Besser story's hanging over them, and like Calgary misses, yet it's everyone's ecstatic. The fact that they battled, that they did what they did, everyone's happy. In Vancouver, they just miss, yet everyone's miserable. So very different expectation, clearly. But what should we be waiting for, or bracing for in terms of Vancouver?
Well, Brian, there are 3 big storylines there, and I guess the first one would be, who's the head coach of the Vancouver Canucks next year? Is it Rick Tocchet? We know that they have the club option. As Chris Johnson reported last night, the belief is that Hockey Canada reached out to Rick Tocchet in hopes that he would coach Team Canada at the Men's Worlds. And, our information is that he's essentially declined. And the reason for doing that isn't that he doesn't want to represent his country. Come on. It's Rick Tocchet. But he's got a lot on his plate. So he's going to spend a ton of time with the primary pieces. And it starts with Quinn Hughes, the captain. You've got Thatcher Demko, the goaltender. And he's got to figure out what's going on with Elias Pettersson, good, bad, or otherwise, right? And then, on top of that, he's obviously going to have management conversations with Patrick Galby, the general manager, and Jimmy Rutherford. And he needs to map out whether or not he can go through another year like the one he just went through with the Vancouver Canucks. So that's story 1 for me. Story 2 is, what is Thatcher Demko and what happens to him in the future? He's got another year left on his contract. So as of July 1st, they can negotiate. And I know that there's been contact with his representatives to say, hey, You guys think of options. We'll think of our options, and then we'll meet in the summer and we'll figure it out. I don't think that Vancouver, at least at this point, is in a position where they want to give Thatcher Demko that mega goalie deal, full long term. Okay, so what if they? Well, I hear you, but what if they come to him with a 2 or a 3 year contract extension option? I got a good feeling that Demko is probably going to say, no, I'm good. I'll play out my year, or I'm telling you right now that I'm not going to sign a contract in Vancouver.
So how does a guy with that injury history not say yes to any? If I'm Demko, I'm signing the longest term contract I possibly can.
Yeah, I mean, unless he feels that he's healed and all of that is behind him, and there is, again, we joke about it, and it's cliche to say you bet on yourself. If he decides that he's not going, and I'm not saying he has, like, let's let the whole situation play out. But if he decides that whatever Vancouver is going to offer in the summer isn't long enough, isn't good enough, and he wants to bet on himself and go into his final year, well, then that's exactly what he's doing. But you're not wrong. It comes with considerable risk. But all of a sudden, now you're Vancouver, and that's the third part of it. You need a number 2 center at least. How are you getting that number 2 center? And maybe you're filling a hole and you're creating another enormous hole if you trade the goalie, but they want a number 2C. They're probably not going to get that in free agency. They feel like they've got draft pick capital, and they've got a prospect pool that can help them acquire that. But again, if Demko draws a line in the sand, which he's entitled to, why not? It's his contract. He can manage it the way he sees fit. Maybe that shifts things entirely in Vancouver.
You'd say looking for a 2C. They need to figure out what the hell their 1C is. That guy came up. Yeah. That guy came up lame in a face-off in New York, and you didn't see them the rest of the season. Pedersen. What's up with what is up with that guy? Nobody knows, and they need to figure it out before they do anything.
Yeah. Well, it was funny because was it last week? You guys correct me if I'm wrong, but every morning I'm going through the highlights and the scores and all this, and I see Elias Pettersson in a fight, first career fight. And I just read the headline. I didn't see the number. I didn't see the player or any of that. And then I click on it. I'm like, there's no way. Number one, I didn't think he was healthy enough. And then I click on it. That's the other guy.
Yeah, they gotta pick one. You can only have one guy with the same name on your team. It's confusing for everybody else.
So, Dregs, I was telling the guys at the start of the show that I was in the league during the Battle of Ontario, so I didn't really pay attention to it. This is my first time around, living in Toronto, covering Ottawa. What do you remember about those back in the early 2000s, and how do you think that's going to translate, now to 2025 Battle of Ontario?
Yeah, I mean, it has to be different just because the game is different. I think that the animosity between the organization is still legit, and that's going to develop as soon as the puck drops. I mean, automatically. And, I mean, the media in both markets is going to generate all kinds of nonsense. I mean, that goes without saying. Are you going to have the Darcy Tucker, Travis Green, all the kind of craziness that we saw way back in the day, Daniel Alfredson, all that? No, because you just don't have it. But you're going to get as close as you can with a healthy Brady Tkachuk. And I'm interested to see what Toronto's counter is going to be to that. And let's keep it in perspective. Noodles, you do a ton of Ottawa Senators games. When Brady is dialed in, he's a heck of a hockey player. We're not talking about the crap show here. We're talking about a guy that can antagonize, but when he's on his game, he's physical, he's not cheating, he's doing all the things that you need him to do, including generating offense. So I expect that's what you're going to get in the better version of Brady, but does he have the capacity to just drag it in the mud and into the... Yes, of course he does. So if it gets to that place, if Toronto allows it to get to that place, how do they counter? What's their answer, right? And that's what I don't know. I think Toronto wins the series. I heard you guys talk to Ray. I think Toronto wins the series if Toronto clicks the way that they need to click in all the different versions of the games that they can play. But I wouldn't discount the possibility that Ottawa keeps it interesting and that series goes longer than most would want.
Yeah, the Brady Tkachuk factor, man. He is the ultimate X factor and a unicorn in this series. The size, there's no one that can really match him. And
all of it.
Yeah,
all of it.
And that applies.
What about waiting 8 years to be unleashed?
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. We saw it at the Four Nations. Remember, he's like, these are the biggest games of my life. Well, now these will be the biggest games of his life. So that is going to be something to behold, once we get there. But, you presume health on his end.
Yeah.
I think Sanderson's been banged up a bit. Giroux's been banged up. McCabe, Ekman-Larsson, Pacioretty. What do you think come game one? Do you think everyone more or less is going to be available? Or
I more or less, Brian, I think they're going to be available.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder a little bit about Ekman-Larsson. I know that he's trending and he's definitely trying to be available to the Leafs for game one. So I'm not going to sit here and say, well, no, he's not going to be. That's his hope, and that's what he's aiming for, and the Leafs likewise. I don't know. I want to look at that series from a higher level and wonder what it might be. The goaltending is obvious, right? Like, your goaltender has to be as good or better than my goaltender. I get that. Defensively, if Toronto is healthy, I think they're better in that regard. I don't know that we're paying enough attention. We will, because we're going to drill down on this. I think we're opening a channel at TSN that's all Battle of Ontario. Yeah. And Noodles is going to be doing it. No Dog's going to be doing it. And Brian, you and I are just going to be kind of on the fringe of all of it. But, the injury stuff matters, but we're also at a place where across the league where it's not load management, it's calculated load management, because I think the league has said, stop talking about load management because the season is so condensed that we appreciate what you have to do when you get to game 78, 9, 80, 82. We understand what you have to do, and I think that the clubs are right there with that. So I don't anticipate that health is going to be a big issue on either side.
Yeah. And I just want to correct you there. I have been assigned Jersey, Carolina. That is the series I will be covering for TSN.
You should hear the stuff he says about that series, though, Dregs. It's utterly disrespectful.
I'm on it. I did. I'm covering that, followed by Vegas and Minnesota. Those are the two series that I will be paying attention to.
No one cares about what people in New Jersey
Both outlier
think.
series. Yeah. Both outlier series, by the way.
I'm on those.
Well, I'm starting, by the way, so people aren't chirping me. Like, I got roasted in Montreal, and I deserved it. I get it for the whole Deminoff thing. We don't have to go down that road, but I'm starting in Winnipeg, apparently.
Ooh.
First two games.
Shen brothers going at it, man. That's going to be something. That is going to be something. Yeah, like Winnipeg in a very unique position for them too, right? Like they're heavy favorite. You got to win, man.
Not a gift, though. Not a gift to get that team, man, to get St. Louis.
I don't disagree, but last year was Colorado. The year before it was Vegas. This one, you got to win this one, man. You got to win this series. And I think they will, but that's going to be a fun one. That'll be a fun series.
Hey, boys, you want a quick fun fact? Mm-hmm. And this is me throwing my old Western Canadian WHL hat in the ring. Noodles, you'll love this. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. Just have a look at the Brandon Wheat Kings for a moment, if you could. Brad Treliving, right? Mm-hmm. General manager, wins the division. Kelly McCrimmon, general manager of the Vegas Golden Knights, Brandon Wheat King. Kevin Shoveldayoff, and I'll extend it to Craig Heisinger, also with the Winnipeg Jets, Brandon Wheat Kings.
Well represented. Anyone from Washington that has an association?
Typical Western
comment. Doesn't
matter. Gretzky or Lindros, the greatest junior players of all time.
Nothing to do with Brandon but play hockey.
Look at me and Hayes. We played in the O.
Honestly, I'm going to actually go on Hayes and O's side here. You go into Brandon, the smell of that rink. Do you remember the smell of that rink? Like it's like a barn. Right?
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, but it was like, what was it called? It was like there was something fair, but it was like a cattle show and a horse show in the building at a certain time of year. You got to make money. The Noodles, you of all people, you got to enterprise. You got to get, you got to make money in certain areas.
I get it. I get it.
Royal Winter Fair. That's what it was.
There it is.
I just remember, because I get so frustrated, it was like a 12-hour bus ride from Lethbridge to Brandon, and we always would do it like that. Brandon was the last stop, and you'd either win big or lose big, and you'd have to have a 12-hour bus ride all night, and then you'd have school. You'd get home. And you get home at 8 o'clock in the morning, you go right to school. Like that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, but you know what that was? That was your equipment. That wasn't a building.
That's right. That's right. That's the WHL. We've heard all about it, these bus rides from all over the place. We know. Yeah. We know. We've heard. Enjoy the final couple of games in the regular season, and we'll buckle up for the playoffs starting soon. Thank you, Dregs.
Okay, boys. Have a good one.
There's Darren Dreger, a TSN Hockey Insider. All right, we got to get to some picks here. Last week, was very, very successful. The OverDrive PGA Picks brought to you by TaylorMade, introducing the all-new QI35 drivers for more distance from more of the face. Unlock another level of your game at TaylorMadeGolf.ca. I'm taking Scheffler again. I'm getting the first pick. I'm taking Scheffler.
You're going to get the first pick, but I'm going to give you a list of my guys afterwards, and you're going to have to chew on it. I think I was more than reasonable, and I didn't get greedy. I am going to take... You've got Scheffler. You need to add 4 more.
Okay.
Because I'm taking Shane Lowry, Colin Morikawa, Rusty Henley.
He missed the cut last week. He burned me in so many pools I was in that little.
Doesn't matter. Here's another guy. Here's another 2 guys that you wouldn't even sniff.
Okay.
Denny McCarthy.
Sure. Yeah, go
Denny
ahead.
McCarthy and my guy who gassed the Squares shoes, Sepp Straka.
Sepp's going to be on that Ryder Cup team, man. And
he was the last one.
Yeah, he'll be shuffling around doing his thing, man, at Bethpage.
Dude, he's dialed in. He realized he was
missed the cut this week, though, too. Man.
You know how many people said take Sepp Straka?
I took Sepp Straka. I took Russell Henley. Like, these are other pools where you pick like 11 guys. And do you know how and Bob McIntyre. They all screwed me. None of them made the weekend. Anyway, all right. So there's yours. I'm going to go with. I have Scheffler. I will take Ludwig Olberg, who I love, and I love the way he's playing. I am going to take Xander Schauffele.
Yes.
I'll take Corey Connors. Right,
yes.
Mr. Top 10. He'll be in the hunt, and I'm going to take my man Danny Berger. I think Daniel Berger loves this place. I think he's trending towards a win. He made the cut this past weekend.
I'm going to take one more guy, the postman from my hometown in Sea Island, Georgia, JT Poston.
You're going to take Poston? All right, then I got to sneak in one more guy. It's a tight track. Who do I take? I'll take Tommy Fleetwood. Tommy's got to win one at some point, man. Come on, Tommy. Come on.
One more for me, and it's a standard. Keegan Bradley.
Yeah.
And Scotty Vale.
So you're taking Keegan
Well, that's
Bradley
2 more.
No, it's his caddy. It's his caddy.
All right, I'll take J-Day. I'll take Jason Day.
You got a good squad.
I do.
You
have a
should
very
win
good squad.
this week.
I feel good about this. The OverDrive PGA Picks brought to you by TaylorMade, introducing the all-new QI35 drivers for more distance from more of the face. Unlock another level of your game at TaylorMadeGolf.ca. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, best bet still to come later in the hour. Habs, Carolina. It's going to be a big game in Montreal tonight. Montreal just needs to get to overtime, and they're into the playoffs. But it's going to be a big couple of weeks around here in the whole province, really. And I have to believe the whole country is kind of looking forward to the Battle of Ontario. It's going to be a great one. And 20 years ago, it was every single year, every single spring, these two teams found a way to play each other. And Gary Roberts was right in the middle of so much of it. And we caught up with him earlier, and we were talking about you almost killing him with a golf ball. He hit an 8-iron from 150 yards out, and he was standing by the fringe, and he got hit right in the head. And it just felt like a perfect segue, bringing Gary Roberts into the fold. And we were eventually going to get to hockey, but we asked Robs out of the gate, do you remember almost being killed by the O-Dog and an 8-iron back in the day?
Well, first of all, did he say it was 185 yards away?
No, 150. 150.
Yeah.
I was 150 yards away.
And you know why? So why would I be at the green waiting for this guy? Because he's got his gun out and he's got his watch to see how far. It took him like a half an hour to hit the shot.
Oh.
Like, I'm busy. I'm trying to get through my round. This guy's out there taking forever. So I'm standing on the green. He doesn't even say 4, guys. So the very last second. And I literally, it hits me right in the forehead, and down I go in the bunker.
It was a mess.
Yeah, that's not good.
So,
Robs, we were also rattled. I don't know if you remember. Like, we quit a hole later. Like, we were just like, we just need to get the hell out of here.
Well, you probably hit me in the safest place possible.
Right in the head, and you're up. And
Right
it's
in
all
the
good.
head. I'm fine. Hit me in the head. I was good. But, yeah, I do remember it. So, obviously, I wasn't that concussed. That was good.
I guess so. Well, are you having flashbacks at all? I mean, now that we got the Battle of Ontario right around the corner, I mean, it's every Leaf fan alive, of a certain age is like, I remember Roberts triple OT. I remember Tucker going into the bench. All these different stories. How vividly do you remember all those series?
Well, I remember, obviously 02. I remember it was, a special moment for me to be a Toronto Maple Leaf. But, all the series, I just think about the momentum back and forth in the series. I think about, we were a high-risk, high-reward team. I tell people, Toronto Maple Leafs, our dear friend Pat Quinn, he allowed lots of turnovers. So I wasn't an east-west guy, but we had a lot of guys that liked to go east-west, and we used to turn the puck over quite often. And I say it often, if it wasn't for our goaltending, I'm not sure we win any of those series.
Robs, when you talk about the intensity of the Battle of Ontario, you look back at the fights, as you mentioned, some of that stuff. What can translate into today's game? I mean, the game has changed, obviously, but when you watch this Toronto Maple Leafs team that's built a little bit differently this year, an Ottawa Senators team that doesn't have a ton of experience, what translates as far as a Battle of Ontario, but into the playoffs now, with that next level?
Well, I think the intensity, and I know everybody says the game's changed, and I hate comparing, 2002 to 2025. I'm just not that guy to compare those. It's different time, different game. But if you look at the Stanley Cup playoffs for the last few years, I mean, there's been some incredible series, incredible intensity. Like, I really don't think that's changed. Yeah, like the skill of the game has changed. Your fourth line guys can all skate, all shoot. I mean, I get all that, but the intensity is still there. The excitement is still there in playoff hockey. Whether you're a young guy, an old guy, when you walk on the ice at Scotia in the first game of the playoffs, Ottawa, Toronto, it's going to be electric. I mean, it's just the way it is, the history of those teams. And, of course, we all know the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs is usually the toughest round. And I'm looking forward to watching it. Matter of fact, I share tickets with 3 other guys, and it's this year's my year to get game 1. So I'm excited to be in the building for game 1 this time around.
Roy, what was your approach for your team? Because if you look at the rosters of Ottawa back then and Toronto, you guys had the intangibles. You had yourself, you had Tux and Corse and Ty, and Ottawa didn't. And I'm not saying that's why you guys won the series, but what was your approach? Because Ottawa was a heavily skilled team, and you could almost argue that it might be flipped now, where Ottawa might be saying the same thing about Toronto. What was your approach? Every time they touched the puck, they needed to be punished, or just overly physical, or what was the mindset?
Well, there's no doubt intimidation probably was a bigger part of the game back then. And, I'm not going to sit here and say we won because we were tougher. Do I think that was part of the reason? Yes, I do. Do I think that's as much of a factor today? I don't. But the intensity is still going to be there. I'd go back to maybe we were a little tougher. I thought our goaltending was better, and that's not to put down, Ottawa's goalie at the time. I don't think it's fair to put the series on him either. But Curtis Joseph and Eddie Balfour, they're big-time goalies. And the more shots they got, the better they played. And it was a joke in the dressing room. We used to say, hey, guys, Cujo needs at least 40 shots tonight, or he's terrible. It used to be literally a joke in the room before the game. We would say, "Holy guys, Eddie's way better when he gets shelled. So let's make sure we go lots of 2-on-1s." And Noodles knows that stuff. Like that was just good dressing room talk. I used to love those conversations. And Cujo had this little smile on his face, and he's such a good human and good guy about it. But they just played better the more work that they got. And Eddie Belfour, when he fell asleep, it was only because he didn't get enough action. We had amazing goaltenders, and we all know you don't win without goaltending. Yes, defense wins championships, but your goalie has to be hot. And for Toronto to win this time around, they need better goaltending.
Yeah, well, and that's, going into it, you got Stolarz here, who we believe will be the starter game one. He's won his last 8 starts, 3 shutouts, .950 save percentage, but doesn't have any playoff experience, Gary, as you're aware of. I mean, he's never started a game in the Stanley Cup playoffs. I mean, I'm curious what you think the vibe might be or mood might be like in the room where you look at it. He's red hot. He's been unbelievable all year when he's played. He's been so good for the Leafs, yet he doesn't have that playoff experience. Like, how do you think his teammates could be kind of reacting to that?
Well, I mean, I'd be excited I know if I was him, I'm sure he is totally excited about the opportunity. But this is what all these, this is what you guys get to talk about every day, is how a guy comes out his first Stanley Cup playoff round and plays amazing and gives the team a chance to win. I mean, this is what the Stanley Cup playoffs are all about. The parity is so close in the game that it has to be something that people don't see coming that becomes a big factor in the series. And I think it's an opportunity for Stolarz to have an unbelievable playoff round. And for the Leafs, listen, I spent lots of time with Chris Tanev in the last decade. Obviously, Craig Berube and I go back a really long time. I just think their team is better this year. I think they're better ready to prepare for a playoff round than they've been in the past years. And obviously, it's still going to come down to our Toronto's best players better than Ottawa's best players.
Right, we had Chief on last week or a couple of weeks ago, and he said you need him in Toronto, so he beat the piss out of you at center ice. Do you remember that?
So, guys, listen to me. Okay, I heard all that stuff. I sent Chief a note, and I said, really? Okay, so you guys know, a quick story. He gets traded for the Gilmore trade, the big trade. He comes in, he moves into my subdivision. We get to the rink the first day, and he walks up to me, Craig Boom, and he says, "Hey, Gary," he says, "really sorry about beating you up last week in Toronto." So I went and got the VHS tape, brought him into the coach's office. I put the tape into the machine, and I hit play. I said, "I just want you to watch this." And we watched the fight together. And I said, "How can you tell the media and me that you beat me up last week? How can you tell it?" And he's like, I said, "Look how many times I hit you and look how many times you hit me." And he says, "You throw pillows. I didn't feel a thing."
Isn't that the best way to start a bond, though, in a team? I mean, you can't beat that.
That's how Craig Berube and I became best pals and training partners. And, that's why the game is so great, guys. Like, it's stuff like that. You just can't make that stuff up. Craig Berube is a great person, a great human, a great coach. And if anybody's going to put the Toronto Maple Leafs over the top, I would count on him. If I'm going to war, I want to go to war with Craig Berube.
Well, it's such a big opportunity for him and the whole team, and we're watching it now up on TSN. I was at the Gardens too. You probably
hammered him with a few laughs, Roy. Like, you got him pretty.
It was good. I know. Like, I thought I got him. I definitely thought I won the fight. I was pretty excited after that, fighting Toronto's tough guys. So yeah, I was a lightweight back then, as you saw.
Yeah, that was a good tilt.
Good old days.
Yeah, but in terms of the way Berube's kind of handled the media, I don't know him personally. Noodles, you know him really well.
Yeah, I played with him in Calgary.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen him change at all over the course of 81 games now. Like, I'm guessing that doesn't surprise you, Gary, that, he's very comfortable with who he is, his approach. And would you expect a different kind of approach come playoff time, like a different personality that Berube is going to show with the media on the bench? What might we expect as of Game 1 Sunday night?
Yeah, and I'm sure he had lots of people in his ear when he became the coach of the Leafs, and how he was going to have to choose his words carefully and maybe change a little bit. I mean, he wears his his passion on his sleeve. Like he is who he is. As a teammate, Noodles, you had him as a teammate. Like he walked in the dressing room in Calgary the year after we won the Stanley Cup. Greg Ruby was part of our team a couple years down the road. And he walked in the room one day and he says, "You guys think you're all-stars? You guys are terrible." I won't say exactly what he said. "You guys are terrible. All-stars? You guys are, dog," basically, he said to us. And he was talking to Gary Suter, Al McInnes, Mike Vernon, Joe Nieuwendyk, it was crazy. He walked in, and this is the kind of guy that he was as a teammate. He was an amazing teammate. One of the best teammates I had the most fun with. He's just one of those guys you want to play for. So for me, I'm thrilled to be, have a history with Craig and to watch him go through this process and see how he's handled himself as the Leaf coach when he does have so much passion and emotion that he's been able to kind of find a way to gauge it a little bit and maybe choose his words a little more carefully to survive in this market. I think he's done a tremendous job.
Yeah, he has, and I'm looking back on that season, that 91-92 season. That was your 53-goal season, Gary. That was the best goal-scoring year of your career. And every once in a while on the show, we end up on like Hockey DB and looking at different stats. And you had 53 goals, 207 penalty minutes that year. Like if you didn't have that many penalty minutes, you might have scored 60 that year.
Yeah, I was probably fighting Chiefs battles back then, so I had a few penalty minutes, but the good old days. Yeah, well, thanks for that's a nice memory, you guys. That's a nice memory for sure.
Absolutely, taking a Pro V right off the forehead and 53 goals back in the day.
I know. Well, I have quite a few stories about O-Dog, but you guys don't have enough time in this interview for that. But I miss our O-Dog training days, too. We got some great stories, Jeff and I, but we were not going to share all those today. Well, it'll be another day.
Of course, we will. We'll get to those.
A brand new facility opening, the O-Dog, and I put in a special second-floor private executive wellness training center with an eatery. So you can come all day, you can hang out, you can work out, you can do sauna, cold tub, you can eat, you can have a smoothie, you can do the Normatex, you can do the Pilates. So it's whenever, May 15th we open, bud. I'd love to have you.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't wait to get there, Roy.
Great.
I've gotten myself back in shape, but it's highly unlikely I'm going to be there.
It's on the way. It's in Vaughan. It's on the way to your golf course, okay? Like, you literally have to drive by it to get to golf.
Okay.
All right.
I love it.
All right.
We're looking forward to it. And I guess congrats to Sam as well. That sounds like he went in the first round.
Yeah.
Got to be pretty exciting.
Well, I'm just starting to wonder if he's my kid. He's a high-scoring, right-handed shot. Hey,
It's got your face, though. I saw it.
And he's he's high-scoring and he's soft. I don't know. It could be O's kid.
Yeah, okay.
Check him out at the gym at the grand opening. We'll bring the two of them together up there. What was that, May 15? You said, Gary?
Yeah, around May 15th we open, and so that's what I've been doing every day is helping behind the scenes, trying to make sure this facility gets open for our summer program this year. So we're pretty excited about it.
Awesome. Okay, well, good luck with that. Good luck. Have fun down at Game 1, and we'll do it again down the road. Thank you for this.
Okay, good luck, guys.
There he is, Gary Roberts, bringing people together up at that new gym, man. That's going to be intense up there, but that's why all the NHL players want to work with Gary. He's one of one.
I could just see the guy. If I went up there and had a sauna and a smoothie, he'd be like, "This is not the purpose of this place. Let's get in there and crack some iron."
Yeah. It's like me when I used to just go play basketball when I went to the gym. Never actually worked out.
In pockets.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks to Gary. And we got a big one tonight in Montreal. The Jays coming off a win today. Vladdy finally hit a home run. They had 19 strikeouts as a team. Things are trending in the right direction for the Blue Jays. And the Leafs have got to get through one more tomorrow night. They got Detroit in town tomorrow night, and then the Battle of Ontario will kickstart this weekend. We cannot wait for it. Come back with our best bets and tee up tonight. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050N on TSN 2. All right, today's best bets are powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. I'm on the Habs money line tonight. Got to get it done. Ivan Demidov, 1 point tonight. Cole Caulfield, 3+ shots, paying plus 361. Demidov, Game 2, Bell Center. People are breaking down what he's doing in practice and the stick skills. People are jacked for this kid. They are excited for him.
He looked pretty good.
He
sure did look pretty good the other night. Yeah,
got to give credit where it's due. Credit where it's due.
Yeah.
Today's Best Bets powered by FanDuel. Live same-game parlays are now available for every NHL game on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Please play responsibly, 18+, physically located in Ontario. All right, games tonight, games tomorrow, then the real stuff kicking off. Cannot wait for it.
Fired up.
Yes,
Battle of Ontario. Let's do it.
Battle of Ontario. Let's go.
There.
Let's go. Battle of Florida. We got Winnipeg in the dance. Edmonton, LA. You can't beat it. All right. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes for helping out. We appreciate it. Everyone for tuning in today. TV, radio, podcast, web. We appreciate that. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy the games tonight. We're back tomorrow at
Go Habs Go, 4 p.m.
We'll chat then.